Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flickin' Reel, your friendly neighborhood fan cast. We are your source for news, reviews, and daily discourse. I am your host, Jesse Swift, just on a fresh cup of caffeine, and I am accompanied, as always, by Mr. Scott Fox. How you doing, Scott?
We're doing fantastic this week, Jesse. We're really glad to be here to bring movie news and reviews.
Awesome. I know that before the show we talked about doing a whisper intro, and I completely forgot. So, Scott, thank you for keeping us on brand.
It's okay. So today's information is going to be brought to you very subtly by Ludes. That's Quaaludes.
And just before we get into our main topics, we really have an important message for everyone listening, watching, or what have you. We really want to grow this channel and devote more time and energy into making informative and entertaining content. This can be achieved most simply by taking a quick second to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. But just make sure that you hit the bell icon and so that you never miss one of our uploads, whether that be trailer reviews, reactions, or just general movie discussions and news like we're doing today, which we haven't done in a while. But lastly, and certainly not leastly, is leastly a word? Not sure. Our dream does not stop at 50 subscribers, which roughly that's where we're at right now. Podcasting is what we both love to do. And we would love to invest more time into this channel. But as all of you at home know, time is money. And you can help us by visiting StreamYards and submitting super chats on YouTube. Your donations help immensely with building this channel into a geek-speaking utopia. Pardon me, I'm probably going to be belching several times during the show because I'm chugging some caffeine right now. So let's get that link up there. There it is. www.streamlabs.com/flickinreel. If you have $1, if you have $2, $5, anything helps so that we can start putting higher production value and possibly outputting more content and developing relationship with our fan base, which we would very much so love to do. But just to make sure that I don't plug for the rest of the day, Scott's going to help me get back on topic as we break down some of the news for this week. So,
yes, sir. So,
you have our
first thing on the docket for today, and this is close to your and my heart. Being hardcore Man of Steel and Henry Cavill fans, there is now talk that, or it has been greenlit, that the J.J. Abrams, and it will be penned by, and I always mispronounce this, ta-nehisi Coates.
I am calling him Mr. Coates because it's the most respectful thing I can do.
Perfect. Mr. Coates will be writing or helping co-author the movie, and the rebooting Superman. But there's a couple things. One, you and I are both huge Henry Cavill fans. We both love Man of Steel.
We're also J.J. Abrams fans.
Oh, J.J. Abrams is fantastic. Just bring him in to do the next leg. I don't want another reboot. How many? I don't need to get into the iterations of Spider-Man, but how many versions of Batman have we had? How many? And I understand there are windows of time when it is appropriate, but I don't think it needs to be restarted. Maybe just handed the baton to somebody to take it forward. But Cavill was fantastic. And the rumor to go with this one is they're actually looking to recast Superman as a black actor and to kind of change over the character. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, if there's any two people more qualified to talk about diversity in movies, it would be two white guys. But we're going to do our best. I try to have the most equal across the field opinions. And I also try to bounce them off of my various, you can say diverse group of friends because we all have different opinions and some people have different perspectives on the issue. My thoughts are, as a fan of various source materials, I would prefer new characters or characters that already exist in the comics to be represented on film. For example, hopefully this isn't too much of a hot take, but if you say you're doing a Green Lantern and you want to have a black actor for Green Lantern, I say then do a Jon Stewart movie. I would be just as excited to see a Jon Stewart movie as I would Hal Jordan. You don't need to have a black Hal Jordan. Not that the race is immensely important to any one character, but it's just when you have to ask yourself why, you tend to do that. You tend to ask yourself, why are we doing this? So somebody has brought up, and I'm not overly familiar with this character because it is a newer character. And Scott, I don't know if you've looked him up, but there is a new Superman in the comics that I think is from a different Earth. But he isn't a black man or an African. I guess he wouldn't be. If he's from a different world, then he's not African American. He's just whatever that is. And if you want to do a story about that and use that as your way to completely tell a new Superman story, I think that would be great, because it'd be something that we're not familiar with. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Krypton. Maybe it's, there is no Kansas or Smallville. That's exciting to me, because I'm not personally ready to see a new Clark Kent. And if it's an opportunity to get more diverse stories out there, I think that's a great idea. I just don't know why we have to do race bending for Clark Kent per se. But maybe I just sound like a white guy. So who knows? I'm not trying to upset anybody. But Scott, bury me out of or dig me out of there.
Yeah, so I'm not upset with them wanting to do this. This seems to be kind of a common theme. But like you said, there are different iterations of characters that you can utilize. If you're going to do that, are we still going with Clark Kent as the character? And then you have to look at, well, what would that look like in the 1980s, 1990s Kansas in the Midwest for an African American growing up if he didn't come from America? If they're going to do that, then let's go alternate universe and have someone with Superman's abilities, Superman, coming in as a completely different country, everything. Or I guess you could drop him in, but maybe he's not from Kansas. Maybe he's from somewhere else in America. Because Clark Kent has a specific backstory.
How fascinating would it be to do a completely Elseworld story where you have a Kryptonian land in Africa or something, and get a completely
even if you have him land in the United States? I just think that picking up Clark Kent's specific story in the same way that with Green Lantern, there are African American or black Green Lanterns. Why not pull one of those variations? And
why don't we reboot the Shaquille O'Neal movie Steel, which is based out of the DC universe, and that's John Henry Irons, and he has an S on his chest. He is Superman Light. He came into the stories shortly after the death of Superman. It's not, again, with you, I'm not upset. My mind just goes to what is our purpose, and if you got a purpose for me, and if there's a reason, then I'm going to be there first in line to support it. Absolutely. I just don't think Henry Cavill's time should be at an end.
No, and I think this has nothing to do with recasting or whether they want to go with an African American Superman or black Superman. Fine, cool, go with it. I just love Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he was a perfect fit, and so for me, this change is kind of speaking a little bit to what's going on in our culture currently. And it's a bit of a hot button topic, and I'm fine with that. If that's the direction that J.J. Abrams and Mr. Coates want to go with for the story, go with it. Do it. I'm fine with that. I guess if anything in this, it wouldn't matter if they're recasting Superman as an African American or a black person. The fact that they're recasting Superman is, I think, what bothers me, because I love Henry Cavill in the role. But we also talked about, if they're going to do this, Michael B. Jordan would be fantastic for that position. Physically, has the build and everything to pull off a Superman. Also, the acting chops. He's an incredible actor. And so there's a lot of opportunity for other types of roles, or not other types of roles, but for how they could go forward this. If they are trying to do this, you and I always come back to the proof of the pudding. What ends up on the screen is what will tell the tale of how this will work. If they do it and they do it well, cool. The ethnicity, to be honest, within America, it doesn't have anything to do with the specific character and their powers. What it has to do with is their backstory.
Sure.
Because I don't think anybody in America is going to deny that the upbringing of somebody of color in certain areas of our country is completely different than that of somebody of a Caucasian descent. And that's part of the reason for a lot of the shift in our culture, is because there's differentials there with equality and equity. And so how would that play into the character's development? And those are some things that could be interesting to explore with a Superman character.
And like you, maybe I just feel weird because I keep waiting for the Henry Cavill redemption. Not that he himself has anything to redeem, but there's a story redemption that needs to happen there because there was a mishandling of the character, and he wants to do it. He's not even 40 yet. Like, there is still plenty of time for this character. And DC seems to be going towards a path of diversity and representation, which I think is very important, and hopefully is done right to the point where it does not, make the point moot, and actually does a great job of doing that, because there's also rumors that they are looking for a person of color to play Constantine. Now, interestingly enough about Constantine, I feel the same about Constantine I do about James Bond. He has to be British. Outside of that, I don't really care, if we're being honest. Now, do I think Matt Ryan is the perfect embodiment of Constantine? Absolutely, 100%. He's got the look. He's got the snark. He's got the accent. I don't see how you can do much better than Matt Ryan. I think Colin Farrell would be a really good choice. But if you want to do a person of color for Constantine, that doesn't seem that out of the realm of fitting. But this one, it raises questions. I guess I have a raised eyebrow, not against it. Curious to see what the next step is.
Again, it's all has to do with the quality of product that hits the big screen will tell the tale. There were a lot of questions with Black Panther and that being the first major black superhero.
Not just black, but actually African, because we had Blade in the 90s, but this was the first time that we actually got some culture with our superhero, which is a really, really cool thing. Absolutely.
And the proof really was in the pudding. What they put out was fantastic, and it was a movement behind that movie. And again, like you touched on, we're probably the least too qualified people to really talk on this. But for me, if they want to recast Superman, I'll be disappointed only because I like Henry Cavill. And then as far as who they do cast, it is completely dependent on what they put on the screen. I happen to be part of a very small minority that likes Superman Returns. And I liked Brandon Routh, but I can also admit that movie sucked. And so there was a lot of reasons why they needed to move in a different direction, why it didn't get a carry forward or anything. So
and this is a conversation that I'm happy to have with people, because I know that I don't feel like I have the right opinion or the only opinion that matters on the topic. I've seen a lot of excitement about that. There's already a lot of outspoken voices that are screaming from the hilltops on representation. And I'm like, that's great. Let's have a talk about it. But I've also seen people that are both excited for the representation, but they're saying the same thing as that we are. Then it shouldn't be Clark Kent.
Yeah. Well, and again, not that it can't be Clark Kent. Yeah. Clark Kent just has a backstory. And then the question would be, well, how does then an ethnicity change to Clark Kent alter his upbringing in Kansas in the 80s? And I mean, that's going to play a role. And those are natural questions to ask. And maybe that affects how he cares for people, how he responds. There's so much that can be done, and it all boils down to what's the story they cultivate, and how does that shape the character. But I think if you're going to do it, go for it. But
if you're updating the casting and modernizing the casting, then it's going to take some updating and modernizing to the story. So we'll see what they do. I am interested. I have a question mark emote thing above my head, but I'm interested to see what happens. And I just really hope that, them putting Supergirl in Flash is really starting to douse my dreams of seeing Henry Cavill again in the DC universe. Again, another diverse casting. They casted a Latinx actress for Supergirl, and that's cool, interesting.
Hey, all for it. You know what? I don't think that you need to necessarily pigeonhole anybody into any of these things, but if that's what happens, you have to. You're going to have to look at what are those implications for the character backstory and all that. But also, the disappointing part about Henry Cavill not being Superman, which is really what this boils down to for me, is that we're getting a Black Adam movie. We're getting probably a Shazam #2. We should have had some crossover with Superman in those movies. Absolutely. And not to say they can't, but I really wanted to see Henry Cavill in there with those things. Just because I love Man of Steel, and we never got #2. And so we got BVS and we got Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out, because you and I are in agreement that the Whedon League is in the garbage, and that nobody ever needs to reference that movie again.
The Justice League.
The Justice League.
Whedon League sounds wrong, and I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah. The Justice League. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is the one that might be the coup de grace. That might be the finale for Henry Cavill. And that's okay. It's just disappointing because I really would love to have seen more of him in it.
And forgive us, that'll probably be the longest we spend on any one topic, but like Scott said, it is near and dear to our hearts. But I actually want to go a little out of order here because, we're talking about diversity and we're talking about Warner Brothers. So what better transition to make than we have a Blue Beetle film in development. And I believe this is the third incarnation that they're focusing on for Blue Beetle, which is Jaime Reyes. And honestly, with my introduction to Blue Beetle, whether it be in Young Justice or the Injustice comics and games, or some of the new Teen Titan movies, Jaime is the Blue Beetle that I know. Like, I am aware of Ted Kord, but I don't really know much else about it. And Ted Kord was more of another rich guy in a suit, whereas Jaime really has a cool story of this alien scarab, kind of like a symbiote. It latched onto him and gave him these powers that parts of it remind me of Spider-Man. I think Jaime is a very Peter Parker-esque character. He's a young character. He's spunky. He deals with a lot of teen struggles. He is a Latinx character, which is really great for representation. That's always been a big part of his character and about his family. So it's going to be cool to see that. But if you don't know, Blue Beetle is able to the scarab protects him, and it's like it serves as a reaction. Like, his arm can turn into a cannon. If something gets fired on him, all of a sudden his arm turns into a shield. It's a little like Iron Man and the nanotech stuff in like Infinity War.
I was just say closer to Cyborg.
Yeah, it's kind of like that
Cyborg
too.
can mutate his body
with the arm cannon. But when Iron Man in Infinity War is fighting Thanos and his armor kept shifting to different things, I remember watching that. I'm like, oh, it's very Blue Beetle of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think this is a great spot. Again, we're adding diversity in, which is huge. And superhero movies for a very long time were white dudes. That's what it was. And I think Spider-Man with Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales really made a huge leap in expressing that in the same way that Black Panther did. And we also know that there's a fan base for it. Like there used to be this idea that they were pandering to a specific demographic fan base, and now they're realizing there's a fan base for every type of ethnicity, background, culture. There are fans who are lining up to want to see it. And Blue Beetle is just an awesome character. Now, in a lot of the iterations that we've seen, he's a sidekick type of character, or he's a member of the team guy, or he's not the lead. And so perhaps this would be an opportunity with a movie for him to see him stand alone on his own as the leader, or as the guy. And that would be really cool because we haven't seen that, because Injustice, as far as major exposure, Injustice really is the biggest place I know him from.
And what I think is really cool that Blue Beetle could provide is in the way that Man of Steel was for DC or Iron Man was for Marvel. Could Blue Beetle be our introduction point, if done successfully, to a Young Justice or Teen Titans cinematically?
Oh,
I think that would be really cool. And I think that would be a great starting point, because you have people that a lot of us are familiar with, your Robin, your Starfire, your Cyborg. I think starting off with a lesser known character with also the diverse representation is a great idea. And I commend DC on this. They like having Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Diversity exists in the comics. Now, even the comics have a ways to go, but they've improved immensely in the last couple decades. And I think that if you get into a boardroom and you say, we need more X or blank representation, all you need to do is go to the source material. It's like, we need a Latinx-led film. Do we make Bruce Wayne a Latino? No. We have Blue Beetle. We have characters that exist. Now there's more recently Jessica Cruz, I believe is her name, Green Lantern. And so there's places that you can go. And I think that people that have latched onto these characters in the source material would be more happy with that, because they have felt that representation for years now. And to see the character that they latched onto for that reason get represented, I think is very important, other than a character that they've been like, well, for my entire life, this guy's been a white guy, so I haven't felt that attachment to him. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of
totally. No. You're right on. A lot of times we will cling to a character who represents,
right.
And that's for any culture or anything. And that's why Black Panther resonated so well.
Absolutely.
And again, not to say that they can't shift things, but if you shift things and you change a character, you need to alter backstory and change some of the other stuff with it. And it's just such a challenging topic, to be honest. Anytime that we start getting into diversity, demographics, background history, because you and I are white guys from Washington.
Sure thing. Sure are.
And so that plays into it. And we may not have the most diverse background to be able to speak eloquently about this. But representation is huge. And there's a place for it. And as you touched on, people who maybe were of Latino descent and gravitated to a Latino character are going to love that character, and seeing him come forward, we need that. So it would be really powerful. And I think it's one of those things we would it would do more good to lift that character up than to shift an existing character.
I agree with that 100%. So I think that with that, we can then move on to, what I just realized, not even intentionally, this episode's the episode of representation. So I'm so glad it's us covering it. We got our first trailer for Disney Pixar's Luca, which you just watched prior to us going live. So Scott, with it so fresh in your head, I want to get what you thought. This is kind of more of a teaser trailer, a little bit of a concept trailer, more than a full in-depth trailer. But I didn't know what to expect. I was pleasantly surprised with it, looking forward to it.
I think it looks like a lot of fun. But I had no idea when it started. I'm like, okay, this is a coming of age tale with young kids in Italy or Greece or wherever specifically they're at. It's on the Mediterranean, it appears. And so you're watching it and it just seems like, okay, this is a standard story. And then they jump off a cliff into the water and then they're not kids anymore. Yeah. This is literally an adolescent mermaid thing type. Yeah, exactly. And but then it doesn't just hit them when they're in the salt water, but it hits them when they're wet. Right. And one of the funny parts is when they're at dinner and one of the guys asks him, or the dad asks a question, and he spits the water he does a spit take, spits it on his brother, and his brother turns into a half fish, and so he's got to dive on top of him. And there's just some clever things with it, but I didn't know what to expect, and I still don't know anything about what the movie is about. But other than it appears that they're struggling with an identity of being a half human, half fish species thing, merman. It almost reminds me of in Hellboy, the fish guy. What's his name?
Oh,
Oh, I'm
Scott
going
might have
blank
lost
on the
you for a
hell.
second. Ape Sapien.
Oh, Ape Sapien. Yeah. So that it reminded me of him as far as the aesthetic and what he looked like. And so that's one of those things I saw that and I was like, okay, so we've got a Hellboy Fishman, but in the kid's cartoon character, and he's got a brother.
Thank you for going Hellboy instead of Shape of Water.
I know better.
Thank you. You don't want to start that flame war. Yeah, I think
Shyamalan needs to redeem himself before I start quoting his movies.
Wait, Shape of Water is Guillermo del Toro, sir.
Oh, sorry about that.
You're thinking Lady in the Water.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was thinking Lady in the Water.
Understandable mistake. They're both trash. I wish there's more people watching so that I could just set the comments aflame. I think it looks beautiful, and it's a different style of animation. I love when Disney goes and does something that looks a little different, and I think that, again, it's great representation. It's a story that doesn't seem overly derivative of anything else. And much like Raya and the Last Dragon, which is coming out very soon, this is something that I'm looking forward to seeing. Disney's been pumping out great content. Soul was a great land. I thought that was an awesome movie. And yeah, so anything else to say about Luca?
I'll probably see it. I mean, I don't know if I'll go to see it in the theater because I have a lot of kids and and it's expensive. But it's definitely going to be worth the view. And if who knows, maybe we're in the scenario we're in now where it hits streaming for Disney early. But
that's one of the only benefits to this like pandemic shift in entertainment is that a lot of things sometimes. Like I do want the option. I like that HBO Max is like we're going to be on HBO Max and in theaters, because I'm a theater junkie. So there's some movies, Mortal Kombat, Dune, that if theaters are open, I'm going to theaters opening night, absolutely. But then there's stuff like In the Heights, which I really, really do want to see, but I don't know if I'm going to watch that on the big screen or just conveniently when I can at home. And then you brought up the point of having your kids. It's much easier if it's on Disney Plus to drop $20-$30 at home to do a streaming release than it is to go out to the theater or HBO, which doesn't charge you, but you only get it for a month, whatever. But anyways, yeah, so I think that's an interesting point. Scott, we're moving on to our final topic.
Yes, please. I'm excited about not that I'm not excited about Luca, but this one this week, they really screwed with some people for a couple days.
I
for a
look
day.
like an idiot. If I could have a talk with Marvel and Sony and shake my fist at John Watts and Tom Holland, I sure would.
Your post of the Spider-Man phone home as being the title for the movie, and then it was just the greatest Marvel troll in a while, and they really they roped a lot of people in.
I cracked myself up because I immediately was on top of it. I saw the phone home thing from Tom Holland, and I wasn't even sure. I was like, what? And I researched, and everyone's like, this is the official title. So I posted on Facebook, and all I put is all caps, not a joke. And then like 15 minutes later, the other title started popping up. And so I commented on it. I was like, a joke.
What were the other two? There was 3 of them that came out that were joke titles. There's Phone Home.
Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned, posted Home Wrecker.
That's right.
And then Zendaya had Spider-Man Home Slice.
Okay, so Home Slice, Home Wrecker, and Phone Home. And the Phone Home was in the green, like kind of hinting the ET style. Yeah. Just all good. And then we finally did find out that it is No Way Home. Right. So building on that next portion.
I can't believe that this has become a trope with them, that like they're really just going to keep home in every title.
Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. Home on the Range.
Home on the Range will be Spider-Man 4. Absolutely.
Oh, we get Spider-Man in Kansas. Perfect.
Eventually they'll get to Spider-Man 10 and it'll just be Homo sapiens.
No, it'd be Homo arachnid.
That's true. Yes, it would. And just a reminder, guys, if you enjoy us babbling on, please support us on StreamYard. We got the link in the comments, or you can just go to StreamYard.com/flickandreel.
Yeah.
But how do we feel about the title? I like it, I think.
Well, again, so Homecoming, we had the high school coming of age Spider-Man. Far From Home, we had the international trip. He's not near his home. He's on his own, having to figure out how to lead and how to be a hero by himself. And then No Way Home, now are we getting into the multiverse where maybe he's stuck in a place where he can't get back?
Wait. Is the place that he can't get back from the Sonyverse?
Oh my goodness.
Because we know that we see like
this is the final movie on contract.
I think. I don't know. He said that he didn't see Marvel and Sony having any disputes anytime soon in a recent interview, but we know that Morbius had Adrian Toomes in the trailer. What does that mean? I don't know. Sorry to derail you, but I just had like this kind of like, where is he not able to get home from?
Well, and we don't know. Okay, so there's also been rumor about after Venom with Bring On the Carnage or whatever the crud title they went with. I wonder who the villain in the movie is going to be. Subtlety.
I'm pretty sure it's Green Goblin.
No, it's the new Goblin. They're bringing James Franco back.
That's right.
But this idea that well, and then there was all these rumors about who's going to be in this movie with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and then they're like, no, none of those people are in it, but yes, all of them are in it. And
the only
I think we'll
confirmation, the only thing that we have confirmed is that officially Jamie Foxx is in as Electro, not Blue, and officially Alfred Molina is in there as Doc Ock. And then we got to figure it out from there. And Benedict Cumberbatch, of course.
Well, in that case, then we do have two alternate universe villains in the same movie with our current universe, Spider-Man. Perhaps the other two guys are in the movie only as a cameo, and that's it. But the fact is, this is certainly just building onto the how quality Marvel has been at teasing people about what they're doing, and then also being incredibly secretive. I mean, I was almost going to say that they've done a great job of keeping secrets, but I think everyone knew Agatha Harkness was in WandaVision.
That wasn't for their fault. They didn't leak anything. They just said that Catherine Hahn will be playing nosy neighbor Agnes, and everyone's like, Agnes, it's Agatha Harkness. Like, it's just, we figured it out. They didn't leak anything. That's not their fault.
That's true, but okay, the subtlety's not there. If you're bringing in villains from two alternate universes,
right,
and then there's rumors of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire reprising their roles in some way, shape, or form, there's a good chance it'll happen. But Marvel does keep secrets. They're really, really good at it. So I'm just curious to see how it all pan out once it hits.
Yeah, how they weave this web of universes together.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, this has been fun. You and I haven't talked about. We've been talking about Mandalorian and then WandaVision for so long that we haven't had just random news.
Well, what I figured is that there's a week, or maybe not a week, between the end of WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I was like, listen, if we don't start finding a way to incorporate talk about movie news, we're not going to do it for like a year. So we got to.
There's a steady stream of material, content, just
a steady
pouring out.
Streaming material.
Thank you.
We're so clever.
I'll be here all week.
I throw my 2 cents there. I think the title is fine. It's interesting. It asks questions, but when they came out with Spider-Man Homecoming, I said, I think the title's stupid, but I don't care because it doesn't mean anything to me. And I still don't think the title's great. I like the movie. Then Far From Home came out, and I kind of rolled my eyes. It's like, okay, fine. The movie's fantastic. I think Far From Home's my favorite live-action Spider-Man movie. And then this, like No Way Home. Again, I'm rolling my eyes a little bit. I was like, it's a fine title. I think the movie will be absolutely incredible. I'm pretty sure this might be the last time John Watts directs a Spider-Man movie because after this, he's doing Fantastic Four. Do we see Reed Richards, or does he set up Fantastic Four at all in Spider-Man? I'm going to ask this question for every Marvel property: is when do we see Reed Richards? When do we see Ben Grimm, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm? It's the questions on the top of all of our minds. But we do and don't know a lot about this movie. I think we have 100 questions and like 3 little answers.
Yeah, totally. And all what we do know is Tom Holland will be reprising his role as Spider-Man. It will have something to do with a home, his home, someone's home, somewhere, the lack of ability to get back to it.
We know that we have to address the question posed at the end of Far From Home, which is Mysterio outed to the world that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. That is the most important thing that we have to address first.
Absolutely.
Does he get a attorney in Matt Murdock or Jennifer Walters, which is She-Hulk, representing him in court as a superhero attorney? Don't know. I think there's, as we start really diving into all this multiverse stuff, you can't say there's no way to anything anymore.
Oh,
are they going to doing it too? We're getting Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck in the same Flash movie. So who knows?
The cool thing with characters that can bend through different universes and can alter timelines, and time travel like the Flash, and then in Marvel, people who can, like Doctor Strange, who can manipulate different universes and cross over, is the possibilities are endless now. It used to be we needed a continuous and a timeline that had continuity, that we could follow a single string, because people didn't like to have to think of where does this one fit in. Every time there was a reboot, it was like, forget everything else. We're starting fresh. Now, with the way things are, you can continue to spin it out, and all you need to do is find some threads to link. That's it.
Marvel's basically saying, if you can't keep up tough stuff at this point, because we're approaching 25 movies or 25 pieces of content into this universe. So, if you can't expect to hop into, Fast and Furious 6, I guess, and know entirely what's going on, even though those are a lot more surface level. Before we wrap up here, Scott, I want to ask you one question, and that is, out of what you've heard for titles for Spider-Man 3, what is your favorite title you've heard?
For Spider-Man 3?
Yeah, the ones that were proposed. I'll give you mine.
I think No Way Home is the one that I do like. The one that supposedly is the real one. Or Phone Home. Just because I'm a kid from the 80s, the Spider-Man Phone Home, I do like that. It's kind of funny.
I was thinking more like the ones that were going on the forums when people were speculating for like the months and months leading up to this. And one of my favorites was Spider-Man Stay at Home. Or Spider-Man Homeschooled.
Oh my gosh.
I thought those were great.
There's so much, when you're playing with words like that and little phrases, you can get away with, like Home on the Range. There's all kinds of things that you could get away with and say, but I don't.
There's no place like home.
Oh my! Well, you're talking about like a wild, weird universe. That would be a great one. But like you said, the title doesn't actually matter. What matters in all of these things is what hits the screen, and what does that do, and also with Spider-Man, how does that build for the future? Kevin Feige is going to definitely be building it into some random
Kevin Froyo, I believe it's pronounced.
Fuji, something like that. But he's going to be building for down the road somewhere. And
Kevin Fujiwater.
But it's coming. And the sad thing is, right now, with the way 2020 went, I'm just starving for content. Send stuff, and we still haven't even seen Black Widow. And
I was just talking to Lauren last night. So we have almost like 4 Marvel movies in the can done. We have Black Widow, Eternals. Both those movies are done, post-production, everything. Shang-Chi was done filming months ago. I don't know how far they are on post-production. And then Spider-Man is, I think, more than like halfway through filming at this point. By the time Black Widow comes out, Spider-Man will be done filming.
Yep.
We have, pardon the terminology here, but Marvel has never been so constipated as it is right now. And I'm just really hoping that in 2021. And I think they announced that Spider-Man's actually going to come out this year.
That would be amazing. You got a Christmas drop there? Whew.
Yeah. That's like right at the end there. So we could potentially have 4 Marvel films this year, unless some of the other ones got pushed to 2022. I have not been able to keep track. There's been so many release date shifts. But anyways, that wraps up our Spider-Man talk and our 4th and final topic for today. Thank you for sticking around to do a news special with me. Hopefully we can continue to do these moving forward. And thank you, anyone that joined us or is joining us after the fact. Again, one more time, I am going to drop the link right here so you can donate at streamlabs.com/flickandreel so that we can really get this thing going and kick it into hyperdrive. But thank you as always, and we will see you guys next week for the finale, possibly, of WandaVision. And if there's some good stuff to talk about, maybe we'll break down some news stories as well. But I've been Jesse.
I've been Scott.
Scott, this way. I'm never going to get that right. So
nope.
Until then,
man.
Keep it real. See you guys next time.